All right, man. Well, hey, thanks for doing this, man. I'm excited to work with you a little bit this morning on your
Yes,
goal
sir.
setting for the new year.
Yes, sir. So,
Excuse me. Can you hear me all right?
yeah, yep. I
All right,
got you.
awesome. So let's start off with your money, your financial goal for 2021. It's January 5th, right?
Yep.
Have you set your a money goal yet? Like how much money you want to make for the new year?
No, I have
Okay.
I have a unit goal. Um, and what I've done in the past is I've always tried to increase my units year over year.
Okay.
Um, and my money has always followed
Hmm.
that path. And then also in doing so, and I don't know if this was strategic or if it just happened by coincidence, but my price points have dramatically increased. Um, Part of it is the market. The market is a great market right now, so housing prices are higher than they were before. Um, and then the other part of it is I guess some of the contacts that I've had that I guess I would say are more affluent, they've seen me in this business now for over 5 years. And so I'm getting their calls, right? And they
Sure.
have, higher price properties and things of that nature. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if it's strategic, but I've been in the game long enough to get some higher price houses, which is nice.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I mean, that'll happen with you because you work hard, you do a good job, you're honest, right? People relate to you, like you. So, yeah. So, I mean, that'll happen just normally.
All right,
But
that's good.
so let me, no, and I'm just saying what's real. I'm not just bullshitting you. That's
Right.
reality.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so as far as the reason we're having this conversation right now, though, is because you were sharing with me how you're working way too many hours. Like you're just working
Yeah.
a ton. So
Yeah.
so I'm glad you shared that with me. So what I like to do, Skylar, is when I'm working with people is because it's so common. Like if I talk to 10 real estate agents, eight will say I have a unit goal. And
Right.
and instead of saying I have a financial goal. So what I want to do is I want to help people switch that around because then we can have a lot more control over our schedule, and especially when you're increasing your average price point,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Right.
let's talk about that. So I'm gonna challenge you to come up with. I want to know how much money, and there's no wrong answer. You can change it. It's like what would be an amazing 2021 for you? What do you want to make from your real estate business? I know you do other stuff on the side, investing, etc. But what do you want to make from your real estate business?
200,
200.
200K.
Okay,
Yep.
awesome. So 200,000. Perfect. All right. So now that you have a number, right? So here's where, because a lot of people, again, when you go back to the unit goal, all we need to do is figure out how many units we need to sell to generate 200,000.
Right. Right.
So what is your average sale price?
Around two and a quarter.
Okay.
That's what it was last year. I mean, if I take it historically, it's probably yeah. Well, last year I probably was around two and a quarter, 250, I would say. So I think that trend is going to continue.
All right. So we'll average that out. We'll
Agents.
say 240 is your
All
average
right,
sale
240.
price. All right. Why don't we use that
Yeah.
as a number? And again, maybe fluctuates up, down. Like you said, sometimes you're getting higher price properties. So if you do one that's 180 and then you do one that's 320, it balances out,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Right.
so let's go 240. And do you get 2.5% on all of your sales?
That's probably that's typical.
Okay, good. So why don't you do the numbers with me? So 240 times 2.5 equals what?
440 times 6,000.
Yeah.
Is
So
that it
you're
again?
so
Yeah,
you're
6,000.
you're making if you keep your price to 240 average and you
Mhm.
don't take less than 2.5% commission, sometimes you'll get more, right? So you can count on $6,000 per closing.
Right.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, no, that's about right from a growth standpoint. Yeah, before a
Okay.
split.
From a
But yeah,
perfect.
that's
So
about right.
and then your split is how much is your cap? 24.
They just changed it. I think it's 80-20 now with a $20,000 cap.
So 20,000 is what you pay.
Yeah,
I don't care
20,000.
about the split. I care more about the
Oh, yeah, the
total.
cap. Yeah, 20,000.
So 20 plus 3, right? So you're 23.
Yeah, plus the 3%. That's right. That's
All
right.
right. So 23, that's essentially 4 transactions. So let's say your net number or gross number is 223 in order to make 200 after you're split to your office, right?
Okay.
So the simple math here is we're going to divide 6,000 into 223. So what do you come up with after that?
About 37.
Okay, yeah, 37 transactions or 38 transactions because it's 0.166. So
Oh, yeah,
we'll
yeah.
say 38 to be safe.
Right,
And
because you
so
can't
here's
get
the
one.
cool thing. 38 transactions, if
It's
you
not
divide
bad.
that by 12 is what? That's 3 a month or a little over 3 a month, right?
Right.
However,
Right.
are you planning to work 12 months? How many months are you planning to work?
Right. Probably let's do it over 10.
10. All right, I love it. So 38 divided by 10, you're looking at 4 transactions a month,
Right.
right? That's our estimate. So we got to figure out how do we close 4 transactions a month. We keep our average sale price at or above 240. We don't take less than 2.5.
Mm, it's a good call.
What do you think on that?
Um, I mean, I guess the way I would attack it is, how many leads do I need to generate that volume of activity, that level of activity for closings, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and we're going to get to that.
Okay.
So here's what I would like you to do. Earlier when you said I have a unit goal, well, I'm curious why you started with units, and this is for everybody that's listening, watching this. Why do you start with units?
Well, because when I first got into the business, I just wanted to sell 60 houses. And so right now, I don't even know if it's as much about the money as it is selling those 60 houses. I had it in my mind. I wanted to sell 60 houses. And so that's kind of why that was my goal. It had nothing really to do about the money, to be honest with you. I just wanted to get to that number and above. And then
Why 60 houses? What's important about that?
because I thought the really high producing agents were doing that, right? I really just wanted to see what my limits were, right? And then once I hit that, then I never felt like I wanted to go to 100. Like some people, like, I want to do 100 units, I want to do 120. I never felt like that. I just felt like I want to get to 60 to prove to myself that I can do 60 units. Then once I get to 60, I'm going to try to start decentralizing this thing out and just, building a really big business, right? How much I do, I don't care, but I always had a personal goal of doing 60. And I've been plateaued for the last couple of years at like 30, right? Last year was like 30. This year is like 30, 32. Now every year I've increased my numbers. So the last 3 years, I think I was 4 million, 4.5 million. And then this year, I'm over 7 million, 7 and some change or whatever. Once the dust settles, I got to get some people to close out some stuff in the MLS, but about 7. So I've almost doubled it with the same amount of transactions because I got the higher price point.
Yeah, well, congratulations. The other challenge that you shared with me is you're also working twice as many hours to do that, right?
Yeah.
That effort. So you're putting in a lot more effort, which is generating the result. The challenge with that, and I experienced it myself, is at some point you're going to hit burnout. Like this is terrible. So
last month.
all right, fair enough. So that's why we're having this conversation now. So all right. And I don't want to discount, if 60 units is important to you, great. Let's figure out how to close 60 units. So is it you closing 60, or is it you and a buyer's agent and starting a team closing 60? Have you established that?
Yeah, no, it's me closing 60 with a, maybe an assistant,
Okay.
admin help.
All right, perfect. And you can easily do that with the right admin and the right support, somebody doing your transaction processing, you can do that.
Right,
You could do more than that, right? I mean, that's
right.
doable, but the key is going to be getting the right support. All
Sure,
right.
sure.
So now I want you to think about, and it's interesting we're having this conversation because I was having this conversation with somebody earlier or last week that in their board, a top producer was 20 units or more. So
Uh,
like 3 or 4 people on their team, their goal was close 20 units to become a top producer. And I'm like, well, why? What does that equate to? Do you want to close 20 $500,000 units, or you want to close 20 $50,000 units, right? It's like we have
right, right, right,
clarity,
right,
right? You could close 20 units and be in a poverty income level
right, right,
unless we're focused, right? So 20 units means nothing.
right,
It's
right.
what do are we selling $1 million houses? Are we selling $200,000 houses? So that's why it's really important to figure all this out. So what do you like when somebody works with you, Skylar? What is something that like you're passionate about? Like what is it about real estate that excites you?
I love a few things. Giving exceptional customer service,
Okay.
right? Like having, you know, I just had a buyer consultation the other day, and when I break it down to people, I do it in such a way that like I can see it in their eyes, like they love the information that I'm giving them. And I remember when I bought my first house, I didn't have anybody do that for me. Right. And so really being able to be a guide to other people and giving them that great service and where they feel like, oh my gosh, like this is an awesome process. Even if it has some bumps or whatever in it, they felt comfortable through the process. So like I like giving information. Um, the other thing is like I love putting a deal together. Like
Yeah,
I
I get it.
like putting deals together. That's just my thing. I like to see how creative I can be when the deal shouldn't work and it's not going to work, right? And then I can put that thing together. So I like doing that. And then I guess that's it. I guess that's it. I guess putting deals together kind of goes along with investing, and that's kind of what I do. So those are the two things that kind of make me tick in the business.
Okay. So exceptional service, putting deals together. What does that do for the client? Like if you're going to work with 60 people, what ultimately does that do for them?
Well, it gives them more options, right? So I have a person who comes to me who, they've been told no a million times or they can't get it done. And, I put on my hat and I have more tools in my bag than maybe somebody else. And I get that thing to close. Or I give them the funding that they need, or I give them the options that they need to build equity or whatever. And they remember that because they remember when they went to a whole bunch of other people and everybody else told them, hey, beat it. You're not ready. You can't get it done. And I took the time with them and, people remember that type of a thing. So to me, that's kind of what I like to do. I don't know if that's the right answer. But I like to figure things out,
Okay.
you know.
So ultimately, now are all your I'm guessing not all your transactions are like that. I'm guessing some of them are cut and dry or
Yeah, some of them are cut and dry. Yeah, some of them are pretty cookie cutter. Um, and it's not like I like all the difficult transactions because trust me, I don't. Right? If I have too many of them going at once, it becomes a real headache.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and for the ones that are not like that, I love to just give really good customer service, right? And just help them through the process and help them make second level decisions. So if the transaction is not difficult, then some of the things we're probably going to talk about is, what are your goals for getting this house? Is this going to be your only house? Are you looking at doing investment properties? We have deeper level conversations,
Okay.
right?
Okay. I love it. So when you work with somebody, are you ahead of time having those conversations and then deciding, hey, is this a good fit? Is this someone that I can offer my high level service and I can support them? And are they going to also be somebody that is worth that time and energy?
Yes. And that's why when I'm with buyers, I won't take you around if you don't sit down and have a conversation with me about your goals and what you're
All right.
trying to do. Right. Because it doesn't make sense for us to get out there. A lot of people you meet and they say, hey, listen, can you take me to see these 5 houses? And can you set that up for Saturday? And that's a conversation I had yesterday with a guy. And I said, before we do any of that, I said, I'd like to talk to you on the phone and I'd like to go over a few things with you. And if they're not willing to do that, then it's not worth my time.
Amen.
Because usually it's going to lead to nowhere.
Good for you. Well, a lot of agents I know will just run out. Now, do you do that on Zoom or do you do it on a phone? Do you both?
But both, right?
Okay.
Depends on what they, if they want to do a Zoom, we'll sit down and do a Zoom. If I do a Zoom, usually it's more of a buyer's consultation. So I'll send them over all the documents, purchase and sales agreement, buyer broker, property disclosures. I'll give them a sample of everything and then I'll go through everything, right? That way they have an
And how
understanding
long
of
does
what
that take?
hour, 15, 20 minutes tops.
Okay. Well, I think, okay, interesting. All right, cool. So you got an hour and 15, an hour and 20. So it sounds like you're actually doing two separate conversations with the people even before you're doing a,
No, just one, right? So it all depends on who the person is that I meet, right? Because I work with a lot of investors. I don't give investors that speech, right? If you're an investor, I assume that you have a basic level of knowledge in real estate. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. It will be a phone call. And if they're like, yeah, I don't care, I'm all set, then I'm good. If you're a first time home buyer or you're a traditional buyer, then I'm going to sit you down and we're going to go through that process again.
okay,
All
I
right.
love this. So one of the things what I do with clients, Skylar, is I look at what their processes are, and then I help them to kind of consolidate some things or find areas where we can be more efficient, generate time back, things like that. So what I would a strategy that I can give you just from what you've told me so far is when you say you're doing a buyer consult with somebody that's
Mm-hmm.
going to last you an hour and 15 or hour and 20 minutes, what I would encourage you to do is create some videos ahead of time that you can then send to those people. So now that they've watched the videos, you can jump on. And instead of being on Zoom with somebody for an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, now you can be on Zoom with somebody for maybe 20 to maybe maximum 30 minutes just to answer the questions.
Right. No, that's actually good.
Is that something that you think would be doable for you?
Yeah.
So
I'm
I
writing
think
that down now.
So I think creating a virtual, like, hey, here's our buyer consult. So on that first call you have with someone, you can just say, hey, listen, I'm going to share a couple of videos with you that are really important to look, to watch. It's going to get you prepared for the buying process and get a commitment from them that they'll watch them before your call, so you can cover a lot of that stuff. And the good news too is when you create videos, it'll be perfect every time. It'll be the same presentation.
Right. No, you're right. That's a great use of time because that's one of the things that I've been bumping up against the wall. Like the reason why we're having this conversation, because you don't have enough time in the day to do all these things,
No.
in an hour when you have a lot of buyers is a lot.
So I don't want to give you a ton of things today. I just wanted to give you a couple things to focus on. But I know now we obviously have our goal in place, which we want to work 10 months. We want to close 40 transactions over 10 months. It's 4 a month. We want to keep our average sale price at 240 or above, and we don't want to take less than 2.5% on any of our commissions. So what I encourage you to do now is as you're talking to people, they have to fit that criteria.
Mm,
And if they don't, it's fine. You just say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm not the best agent for you. And you could either refer them to someone else, or you could just say, hey, unfortunately, we don't sound, doesn't sound like I can meet your needs and expectations. So now you get to pick and choose who you're going to be spending your time with, because you only have so much time.
sure, sure. Now, would you say, um, so to that point, should I wait? Like, I make those decisions kind of subconsciously now, right? So if I have a lot of business on my plate, like I had the last 2, 3 months, I was jam packed. There were some lower level stuff that I just let go,
Yeah.
right? But if I don't have a lot going on, I probably should take that business, I would assume, right?
So something I do is I do a lot of referrals. I have a bunch of different referral partners, agents that I send referrals to. Then because I only have so much time. So if I talk to someone and they want to do something, and I can send them to Jim Black, or I can send them to Kevin Walsh, or so that's kind of how I handle it. And then I
Okay.
get to pick and choose. Like we just listed one for 1.2 million. So you know what? For me, that's probably one that's worth my time, right? I'll meet.
Right.
Most of it honestly happened via Zoom anyway. I met the guy once at the house.
Sure.
I spoke with him for 3 months ahead of time. But I get to pick and choose who I'm going to work with. So for today, there's a lot of things I can help you with here. In admin, we need to get you some support, right? If you don't have support, I don't know
Yeah.
that that's the first thing to do.
Oh,
Well, it could be, but what I think an easy thing for you to do right now is to figure out how to get those buyer consults. Because how many buyer consults do you think you're doing a year? Just a rough idea. Or how many do you do a week?
so this week I've done, starting Sunday, I've done one. I'm gonna do three this week.
Okay, got it. So if we can
Right.
take those and cut 45 minutes off each one, that's going to give you an extra 2 hours and 15 minutes just in 1 week. Think about that. Just that simple thing alone by create. I know in upfront, yes, you got to spend some time. You got to create the video, but you only have to do that once and then it's done.
Right.
So
Right.
I think a good easy place for you and I to start, and we're going to continue this next week because we're coming up on 30 minutes, is start off by creating your buyer presentation video. It's the same thing you would say to these people, but in a video format. Okay.
Okay.
And then I want you to start looking at some virtual assistant companies. There's a couple that you can go on to Upwork. There's a couple on Upwork. You can find VAs that know real estate already, plug them
Let
in.
me let me ask you this. So in my mind, what I'm struggling with is I called a couple of these companies. Is should I go in person versus virtual? What are the pros and cons? I feel that as if the people that I've seen who are at the highest level of real estate all have in-person assistants.
I don't know that you're there yet, man. When you're talking about an in-person, and right now there hardly anybody has in-person assistants. Right.
Well, I mean, like local. No, you're right. You're right. Nobody's sitting and
So,
going coming into the office right now.
but when you want to first start getting rid of some of these tedious tasks that are sucking that time out of you, like when a host goes under contract, you have to get all the paperwork in order. You have to get signatures. You have to, all that stuff, right?
Well, I have somebody for that now.
Okay, good. All right, good. So
Right.
somebody,
So I'm
yeah.
still using, yeah, I'm still using Trish and her
Okay,
team for the transaction part of it.
okay,
Which has been a help to me, right?
good.
Because it's
Yeah, I
allowed me to do
get
a
it.
lot more. But there's a lot more stuff that I would have an admin do in terms of like
Okay,
client retention, database management stuff.
so here's what we need to do then. This is critically important. You've got two assignments for our next call, okay? Number
Okay.
one is I want you to start working on the video, create the video. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Create
Okay.
a video. If you want, you can get see the software I'm using here. This is see the, like, you got a little
No.
logo, you know, well, it's called ManyCam. I'll show you. There's all kinds of little tools. I can add a what's it called? Let's see, like I can add a lower third level there. I could put scrolling text across. So these are the types of things when you're
Oh.
creating a video for a client, you want things like that to show up, right? Or I could post, I could add another element on my screen if I want and put a video right there. I could even have a video right here of a testimonial of another client saying, hey, I worked with Skylar and here's what Skylar did for us, right? So this software is called ManyCam. And right now, Skylar, you can purchase this software. I believe it's like $80 for a lifetime.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
cheap.
it's phenomenal. And also
You
if you,
said mini cam?
yeah, ManyCam, MANY Cam.
Oh, many cam.
It'll help you create a more professional presentation is what it's going to do.
Okay. I
All right.
like that.
And then, you
ManyCam.
can add your logo, like see that I got the 35 call challenge logo. That's just a logo I added there. I can change that logo
I
out.
seen that. I was like, is that on his wall or what is that? It's covering Tom Brady.
Yeah, well, it's covering, there's a reflection here. So I put it right there. But I mean, look, I can change that. So watch, if I want, I can. So obviously, I'm with EXP. So if I want, I just change that. And now there's my EXP logo, right? So as I'm talking to the people, it's a much more professional presentation, right? Or let's
Like
say I
that.
want something like across the screen, right? Let me see how do I do this? Lower level. There's so many different tools here. I can change my background. Well, right now I don't have a green screen up. So on the other side, I have a green screen in my office.
Okay.
I can change. I can add text that goes across like that, right? So I could even say whatever, right? Anything I want, I can add in that text. So I mean, it's a more professional presentation is my point.
Okay.
So you make the investment into the software, and then you can create a really nice presentation. And if you get a green screen set up, I'm not going to see your couch in the background. I'm not going to see your folding doors and all that other stuff.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can have whatever background you want. I don't have a green screen behind me, but I can show you. Even I think it might even come in pretty decent without it. I've got two offices, so I've got two locations in my office. I have a studio, but let me show you what happens with, if I set up will it let me even set up a virtual? Yeah, so go virtual background. Oh, that's the wrong one. Go let's see, going a little in the weeds right now, but so if I go classroom, let's see. Why is this not working? Get rid of that. All right. Preset. What am I doing? Now I'm going way in the weeds.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I get what you're saying, and we can, I can play around with it. I'll get the software. But
Yeah.
yeah, I have seen those backgrounds where people have, spaceship backgrounds. I've seen, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but you can create a really nice background, right? Let me turn that off, get rid of that. And then you could have a background for the main vote. I don't know why it's not working. It's really strange. It just refuses to let me turn it on. Now I'm getting like, like I want to get it done.
I know, right? You want to figure it out.
Anyway, so here's the
No
thing.
worries.
So what I want for us is two assignments for next week. Number one is I want you to start working on the video. And
Yep.
number two is I want you to start documenting everything you do for 3 days. So carry a pad with you and write down what you do.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why my brother's coming up as well. I'm gonna make him do standard work for me, as we used to call it back at Sikorsky, and document my process for buyers, document my process for sellers. I've already put some of that on an Excel sheet. I dummied it down for my buyers. So now my buyers, I give them a checklist,
Okay.
right? As well as like a flowchart visual that they have.
Sure.
But yeah, no, you're right. I need to be able to repeat this.
So the other thing you can do, and we'll get into this later, is if you you can actually create a buyer membership site where the buyer will have to log in, watch a video, and then select mark complete to move to the next video. And you'll know when they've watched all 5 videos, and you could say to somebody, hey, until, we'll go out once you've completed all 5 videos, and each video may be 5 minutes long or 10 minutes long. So, I mean, you can really get high level with this stuff. Because again, remember, this is your time,
Sure.
right? So you get to pick and choose what you do with your time.
Right, right.
So there's one is going to be the video. Number 2 is going to be, I want you to document what you're doing. In everything, like, hey, just sent this email to blah, blah, blah. I installed a sign, whatever it is, right? Installed lockbox here. Just document all that. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
All right, awesome. What's your you have any questions right now, or what's your biggest takeaway from today?
I don't. I wrote a couple of things. Create the buyer's video presentation. I think that's an awesome thing to do. And even having something, later down the line for other processes that I have a, video documentation. And if I could even add those as links and make them part of my website, right? And say, hey, go to my website. Yeah, and drive people there, right? And then I can actually capture them and then add them to my CMR if I haven't met them already, right? And if I have met them, I can just refer them back to my website, making that a more useful tool. So that was a great takeaway.
Yeah, you just send them a link.
Huh?
Yeah, you just email them a link. Here's a link. Please watch this before we go out. And I'll look for, you'll figure out those details. All right, awesome. And what's the other one?
Exactly. And then just in general is like I other than the personal reason, I don't need to do 60 transactions to make 200,000. I think that was kind of eye-opening because 40 is really, what was it, 40 or 38? I mean, I'm knocking on that door kind of already. I would like to see what I finished the year with for this year because I had a pretty good year. I know I got to be probably like mid 150, probably somewhere around there. So not too much further to go to actually hit that goal.
Well, here's what I can tell you. In my business, I closed 95 transactions or 94 transactions. I hated real estate. I was ready to quit. This was in like 2011. And I hired a real estate coach. I had made decent money. I probably made about 350 that year. Right. That was my, good income for then, and the next year, we actually had closed 89 transactions, a few less, but I literally, instead of working 70 to 80 hours a week, I was only working 45 to 50 hours a week. It was a huge, huge upgrade in my life. Yeah. I left like $25,000 on the table. It made no difference. And then eventually
Sure.
what was happening was I got to 112 transactions, which I was making more money and still only working maybe 40 to 50 hours a week.
Wow.
So, and it's all just these types of little processes, man. So, hey, I'm excited to work with you. I appreciate it. And yeah, we'll look forward to being on next week at the same time.
All right. Sounds like a plan, my man.